All right, welcome to our April series on supported decision making. Thank you so much again for those of you that are returning and joining us again. We're very excited about offering this series again this year. And our sponsors include Oakland Community Health Network, as well as the Michigan Development Disabilities Council and Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network. Specifically want to thank Mary Sheehan-Bugard, who from the Development Disability Council really has helped us put on these trainings and get the word out. Next slide. So we will have, sorry, that's you, Caitlin. Sorry.
Just wanted to do a quick bit of housekeeping. Sorry about that, Vicki. So I wanted to let everyone know that today's session is being recorded, and like I mentioned, it will be available on our public website at a later date. You can view all of our recordings from our 2021 series there as well. I will send out an evaluation at the end of the training in the chat. There are no CEs associated with today's training. However, if you fill out the evaluation, I will provide you with a certificate of attendance if you choose to select that. As far as questions and raising your hand, we do have a chat box. So depending on what version of Teams you have, your taskbar is either going to be at the top or the bottom. The chat bubble or the chat box is a little bubble with 2 lines through it. I will be putting some additional information in there. If you have any questions, feel free to put that in the chat, and when we pause, I can always read those out. Next to the chat, there is a little smiley face with a hand next to it. You can also use that to give reactions or raise your hand if you have a question. Next to that is a camera and mic. If there's a slash through it, that means it is off. Totally up to you if you have your camera on. We do love to see your wonderful faces, but please keep yourself muted throughout the training to reduce background noise. That wraps up my housekeeping, so I will hand it back to you, Vicki.
All right, we do need, sounds like we need somebody who needs to be muted. Don't have background, thank you. All right, so again, thanks for attending. I talked about our partners. I'm Vicki Suter. I'm the Director of Rights and Advocacy. I also lead our local supported decision-making work group. OCHN has a goal related to this, and we have a number of members who participate, and actually was their idea to do these training series. Mary and I are also part of a statewide supported decision-making work group looking at issues that affect everyone across the state, including legislation, how things are happening in the court, et cetera, et cetera. So we're just excited about being here with you again this month. Our next slide. So today our presentation is going to be about ABLE accounts, recent changes, how to start one, and what they can be used for. Our esteemed presenter is Scott DeVerona. He has presented this topic for us last year as well, so we're excited to have him again. And I'm just going to turn it over to him so he has most of the hour to do his presentation as well as take questions. All right, there you go, Scott.
Well, thank you so much. As Vicki mentioned, my name is Scott DeVerona. I am the program director for the Michigan Department of Treasury My ABLE 529 Savings Program. Our program has been around since 2016, so it actually has some history behind it now. So it's no longer the new thing, but in terms of financial accounts, it's still very new. And we still are having some changes made to the program that make it better for individuals with disabilities. So I really want to thank our sponsors for putting this together and giving me the opportunity to talk to you for, half hour, 45 minutes about ABLE program, what it can do for you, what it can do for your family or the people that you serve. So why am I here? Well, people with disabilities who rely on state and federal benefits may be limited to $2,000 in assets to qualify for the programs that they need because of a disability. It literally is a catch-22. For generations, the disabled population has been told, stay broke. Don't ever have more than $2,000 in assets or you're going to lose the benefits that you need. In 2015, that changed with the creation of the Federal ABLE Act. Congress realized that forcing people into poverty due to a disability is unsustainable, and it prevents people from becoming economically self-sufficient. The Michigan Department of Treasury has long been an advocate for financial literacy, and now with the MyAble program, we're helping those with disabilities to become empowered financially. So I'm going to throw out a lot of statistics at you, a lot of numbers. Most of my numbers come from the National Disability Institute, which sponsors the ABLE National Resource Center. The ABLE National Resource Center is a conglomeration of every state program. It will answer general questions for you about ABLE programs. So if you ever want to fact check me, you can go to the ABLE National Resource Center, and they will be able to back up some of the statistics that I'm about to provide. Only 33% of individuals with disabilities are employed, yet they need 28% more income to maintain the same standard of living as a household without a disability. 25% of Americans with a disability live in poverty, and they are 3 times more likely to have difficulty paying bills. They are also 3 times more likely to be unbanked, to have no bank account or place to put savings. And only 38% of households with a disability can save for unexpected emergencies or unexpected expenses. The Americans with Disabilities Act was passed over 30 years ago, and it was created to ensure those with disabilities are fully able to participate in society. It made public places like schools and museums and hospitals accessible to everyone regardless of ability. The ADA is 800 pages long, but what it didn't do was ensure that everyone had a way to save and invest for their future. The ABLE Act allows it now. The disabled community can now plan, save, and invest for their expenses without jeopardizing their eligibility for the programs and services that they need. An ABLE account can be their first step to becoming financially self-sufficient. So, in addition to telling you what this program is, I also want to be clear about what it is not. Having an ABLE account will not increase or create income. This is a place to put earned income like wages, business income, other money like gifts or donations. It's like a savings account with some special features that are just for individuals with disabilities. And obviously today we're going to talk about the ABLE program generally, but I'm going to talk specifically about the Michigan ABLE program and how it is beneficial to Michigan residents. The rules are the same across the country, but if you're not a Michigan resident, I encourage you to check out your local state's ABLE program because it may have some differences from the Michigan ABLE. Everything that I'm going to go over is from the slides to the forms to the statistics, the webinar, and all the investment details are available at our website, and that's myable.org. So you can go there and you can look at the same information that I'm going to present to you today. So let's talk about the national rules. What does the National ABLE account allow us to do? First and foremost, you are allowed 1 account per person. You can't have more than 1 ABLE account. If you move or prefer another state's plan, you can use that state's plan. You are not required to use Michigan's plan if you're a Michigan resident. Rollovers from one state to another are allowed, so you can invest in whichever state program best serves your needs. If you don't like the Michigan program for whatever reason, feel free to look at other states' programs because there might be some benefits to utilizing one of those. The account is owned by the person with a disability. It's their money. Regardless of who funded it, regardless of who put the money in the account, the money belongs to the person with a disability. Now, obviously, there are people in the disability community who do not have the capacity or the desire to handle their own finances. The ABLE accounts do allow an authorized legal representative to act on behalf of an ABLE account owner. The authorized legal representative can be a parent, a sibling, a spouse, a grandparent, a power of attorney, a court-appointed guardian, or a Social Security Administration designated representative payee. Depending on your relationship to the account owner, you may need to provide proof or evidence of your authorization, but we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the enrollment screens. One of the most important aspects, and the reason that this program was created, is to allow individuals to save money in an account without jeopardizing their eligibility for Medicaid. People need their Medicaid. People need the other services that Medicaid administers, home and community-based waiver programs, Children's Special Health Care Services. Any of those programs where Medicaid determines the eligibility, you do no longer need to worry about that $2,000 asset threshold. You can put the money in the ABLE account and you can use those contributions to pay for the services that you need. It's a place for people to use ABLE accounts to shelter their assets and keep their eligibility. Medicaid is allowed to claim any money left over in an ABLE account when a beneficiary passes away. And believe me, I understand. I talk to a lot of parents, and I know that clawback provision worries many who are considering opening an ABLE account. There are a number of states who have proposed legislation to prevent or to reduce or to even eliminate Medicaid clawback. In Michigan, the Michigan Medicaid program has never made a claim to a balance left over in an ABLE program after the beneficiary has passed away. I can't say they never will. But I can say in the 6-year history of the program, there have been no efforts to establish systematic clawback. And I do have a handful of strategies that I'll talk about in a few minutes that might help as well. Assets over $100,000 do count as SSI for payment resource calculations. It doesn't change eligibility for any of the programs, but it will change the monthly benefit amount. Again, it's only when the balance exceeds $100,000. So you don't have to worry about that unless you deposit $100,000. Sorry, got to advance my slide. Okay, who's eligible to open an ABLE account? Anyone who became disabled prior to age 26, as long as you don't have an ABLE account open anywhere else. Remember, the rule is you're only limited to one ABLE account. There are 3 ways that you can prove eligibility. If you are eligible for SSI or SSDI due to a disability, you're eligible. You do not need to be receiving benefits. Receiving benefits is not a classification. You can be eligible for them and not receiving them and still be eligible for an ABLE account. You could also have a condition listed on the Social Security Administration Compassionate Allowances list. There are hundreds of conditions and the list is constantly increasing as Social Security makes determinations as to what disabling conditions are. And the third way, the IRS allows individuals to self-certify with a physician's documentation that verifies disability status and allows the qualification for the ABLE account. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the age restriction that's listed there. When Congress passed this legislation, the intent was to help individuals with disabilities, not just individuals whose disability happened before age 26. However, Congress limited the ABLE program only to those who become disabled after age 26, or excuse me, before age 26. The current law prevents those who become disabled after that from opening an ABLE account. So people who have a traumatic brain injury after age 26 cannot participate in this program. People who develop ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, multiple sclerosis, or any other type of degenerative condition after age 26, they cannot avail themselves of this program right now. But I am happy to announce that in both the House and Senate, proposed bills to raise the age of onset from 26 to 46, which would allow even more people in Michigan to save and invest for their disability expenses, are pending. I'd love to be able to predict what Congress can do. Unfortunately, I am not that good, so I don't know if they'll pass, and if they'll pass, I don't know when they'll pass. For those of you who are keeping score at home, it's Senate Bill 331 and House Resolution 1219 that are the ABLE Age Adjustment Act. If you are so inclined, please talk with your federal elected representative about co-sponsoring the ABLE Age Adjustment Act. The more co-sponsors we have, the easier it'll be to push through Congress. So that's where we are on that. So let's talk about how much money you can put into an ABLE account. The IRS posts the gift tax limit annually. When the first ABLE accounts were created, the limit was $14,000. Periodically, the IRS changes the gift tax limit to account for inflation and cost of living increases. In 2022, ABLE accounts can have $16,000 deposited from any source. For account owners who have their own income, meaning they have wages or they get commission checks or they have their own business income, the Able to Work Act allows additional contributions annually on top of that $16,000. In Michigan and the other lower 48 states for 2022, an additional $12,880 can be deposited into an ABLE account. But again, that $12,000 must be funds that come from that eligible individual's income. Now, I counsel parents all the time to begin saving for educational expenses in 529 accounts as early as birth. However, there may be people who started a 529 education account where a disability will prevent those beneficiaries from pursuing higher education. For that reason, Congress amended the ABLE law to allow rollovers from 529 education accounts into 529 ABLE accounts. The annual $16,000 limit still applies, but now that money can be used for other expenses not allowed by the 529 education programs. Rollovers may end in 2025 if Congress doesn't extend the deadline. So if you fall into that situation, or if you have clients who fall into that situation where they've got money in a 529 education account that might be better utilized as a disability savings account, you want to make sure they get that rolled over before 2025 so that if Congress doesn't extend it, they're not excluded from that. Congress is also investigating special allowances for significant deposits, which they call windfall deposits. People who receive life insurance payments or Social Security Administration back payments, or if they win a lawsuit, right now I can only help them with $16,000. And if they get $100,000 in lawsuit, I can only help them with $16,000. So they are investigating how they could work it so that it would allow for those special windfall provisions. As soon as something comes up through Congress, I will let you know, and I'll add it to my spreadsheet, add it to my my talking points. Want to talk a little bit about the ABLE industry as well. Just to let you know, ABLE accounts now have broached the $1 billion threshold in the United States. There's over $1 billion invested in ABLE accounts. And in Michigan, we have about $35 million in assets, and we've created just over 4,000 accounts. So the number one question that I get, if I open this account, what can I use this money on? And the answer is Congress is very, very clear about the types of things that they want people to utilize this account for. So just like you can, or QDE, that your account must be used to pay for QDE, qualified disability expenses. And QDE is defined as the costs of everyday living and is intentionally as broad as possible. Okay. So just like you can use your 529 education account to pay for tuition, books, fees, computers, the cost of higher education, you can use your ABLE account to pay for those things too. But you can also use it to pay for things like housing, rent, mortgage, utilities, garbage removal service, internet service fees. Making modifications to a home to allow for accessibility would all be allowable expenses out of an ABLE account. You can use it for transportation, whether that's buying a car or a wheelchair accessible van or using an Uber or a bus. The best example that I have is I talked to a gentleman just a few months ago who lives on Mackinac Island, and he said, I have to take the ferry back and forth to get to my job. Is that an allowable expense? And the answer is categorically yes. Transportation, moving a person with a disability from one place to another, is an allowable expense. You can use these accounts for your everyday living expenses. So you can use it to pay for groceries. You can use it to pay for toiletries and to furnish a home. Any of those expenses are allowable out of an ABLE account. You can use it for assistive technology. I once attended a conference at Michigan State where the guy at the booth next to me had these $4,000 eyeglasses that would read to a person who had visual problems. Super cool. But if you need to save $4,000 and you're limited to $2,000 in assets without losing your eligibility, you can't do it unless you have an ABLE account. ABLE accounts can be used to pay for health and wellness. So if you need to visit a doctor or you're hospitalized, or you need to purchase a piece of durable medical equipment like a wheelchair or a walker, or you need lab test, diagnostic testing, any health or wellness costs are allowed to be paid for out of an ABLE account. And it does not need to be something that Medicaid will pay for. So if you or your client or your family member needs a particular therapy that is not covered by Medicaid, you can pay for it out of your ABLE account. You can use it for any form of assistive technology. I already talked about that one. You can use it for financial management. So if you need the services of an attorney or a CPA, you can pay for that services. Raghu asked the question in the chat. Thank you, Raghu, because this is the #1 question that I get. Can you spend it? The question that I get is, can you use it for a vacation? The answer is a qualified yes, because traveling is a transportation expense. If you have to pay for a flight, that's an allowable expense. And if you go somewhere where you're going to stay for a while and you have to pay for a hotel, that's a housing expense, and that's an allowable expense as well. So the answer is yes, you can use it for travel. And it can be leisure travel. It can be vacation. The example that I use when we talk about things you should probably not use your ABLE account for, if you're going to purchase a piece of jewelry, I would not recommend using your ABLE account to pay for those things. If you're going to purchase alcohol, tobacco, lottery tickets, I'm not saying don't buy those things, but don't use your ABLE account to pay for those things. The intention of these accounts is to pay for the things that are on this list: education, housing, transportation, technology, healthcare, financial management, legal services. I forgot to talk about end-of-life expenses. You no longer have to prepay for your funeral expenses. You can pay for them when the beneficiary passes away out of their ABLE account. Susan asks another great question. Can you use it for equine therapy, horseback riding? Yes, you can. You can use it for any sort of therapy that is a potential treatment for the condition that you serve. One of the questions that was asked as Congress was debating this legislation was, you want this to be able to pay for everything. And the person who answered the question was very emphatic. Yes, we want this to be able to pay for anything. Because when you know one story of a person with a disability, you know one story of a person with a disability. Because a Down syndrome child has different needs than a 45-year-old blind person, has different needs than a person who's in a wheelchair, has different needs than a person with spina bifida, has different needs. So to try and put together a comprehensive list of all the things that this could be used for was impossible. So what they did is they broke it out into categories and said, if it falls into one of these categories, you'll be just fine. So you would not need a prescription to pay for those. One of the early questions that I got when this program first came out is, what about medical marijuana? Medical marijuana is a legitimate medical expense. So yes, you could pay for medical marijuana out of your ABLE account. So yeah, you don't necessarily need a prescription. And even if it's an experimental treatment or anything like that, you can utilize an ABLE account to pay for those, because that's health and wellness, and that is an allowable expense. So I like to spend a little extra time on this screen just so that a lot of times people take a screenshot or a picture, because people want to know, what can I use this money for? So if you have any other questions regarding to qualified disability expenses, please feel free to ask. Like I said, it's the #1 question that I get, and I get these questions a lot. Here's one that a lot of people ask also. Service animals. Are service animals a qualified disability expense? And the answer is absolutely yes. You call that assistive technology, call it health and wellness. The bottom line is the service animal expenses, treatment, or excuse me, food, veterinary care, those are all allowable expenses out of an ABLE account. And we are not going to ask you what type of service animal or anything like that. If you need a service iguana, you can use a service iguana. That's fine with us. I saw a hand go up, but I think it went back down. So I don't know if I answered that question.
No, Amy's got her.
Go ahead, Amy. You're on mute, though.
Get on mute, Amy.
Still can't hear you, Amy. Is it Amy or Anne Marie?
It's both.
Oh, okay. And I still can't hear her.
There you go.
There we go.
Thank you, Vicki. Does your conservator, if you have a conservator, does he have to okay you to get an ABLE account?
It depends on the type of conservatorship. So you'd have to look into that. If they have financial control, yes, you would need their authorization to open that account.
Even if you have a job and are willing to put from the job, the money from your job in to the able account?
If they have been authorized for the conservatorship and to manage the money, yes, you would need their authorization in order to do that. Yes. But that's a conversation that you can have with them to say, hey, this is something I want to do, and this is my desire.
Because I've had conversation with his law lady, and she doesn't know what an able account is.
Okay. If you stay tuned later on, I'm going to give you my email address, and you can have her email me, and I'd be more than happy to speak with them.
Okay.
Okay. Rebecca asked a question. Can you have money deposited from your paycheck? I forgot to tell you guys the joke that I always tell when I do this presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to you now. Eventually, somebody is going to ask a question, and I'm going to say I have a slide for that coming up. So Rebecca, I have a slide for that coming up. Patricia asked, does purchasing sporting equipment to participate in activities such as golf or bowling fall under health and wellness? The answer is absolutely yes. You can utilize the ABLE account to pay for those things for the disabled person. Absolutely, yes.
Hello.
Okay. Okay.
Hi.
I'm going to move on.
Hi.
Unless somebody has another question about qualified disability expenses. Going once, going twice. Okay. Let's talk about some benefits of opening the ABLE account. First and foremost, number one, you keep the benefits that you need. We've already proven that you need the benefits. You need the Medicaid, you need the Children's Special Health Care Services. Let's keep those benefits because we know we need those. It's individual ownership, so you get to make investment decisions. You get to decide what to do with your money. It's affordable. I'm going to talk a little bit about how the prices vary from $45 to $60 a year. But the most you're going to spend is $60 a year to have this account to be able to plan for your financial expenses. There's tax deduction. Remember, I talked earlier about how each state has its own individual rules. Well, Michigan made it really, really beneficial for Michigan residents. An individual can deduct up to a $5,000 ABLE contribution on their Michigan income tax return, and a joint couple can deduct up to $10,000 on their Michigan income tax return for a MyABLE contribution. So it's a great way for family members who have historically told, please don't give this person money because they lose their benefits, to make contributions to an account that won't impact their benefits and help them build their balances. Michigan also increased its 529 limit to one of the highest in the nation. We don't tell you to stop putting money in your account until you reach $500,000. So you theoretically can shelter $500,000, $500,000 in the ABLE program. Now, obviously, I know it's $16,000 a year. It's going to take you a long time to get there. But for those individuals of high net worth or high income, here's a place where you can put that money to save for those expenses that you know you're going to have because of that disability. The MyABLE offers 6 different investment options, ranging from conservative to aggressive. We also have a no market risk federally insured checking account. Our investment portfolio includes stock index funds from national leaders like Vanguard, Schwab, iShares. We have bond index funds from Vanguard and BlackRock. We even utilize a high yield savings account for some of the more conservative options. So depending on your particular investment risk tolerance, we have a program for you. MyABLE account holders can access their funds anytime through any purpose. Obviously, money withdrawn for unqualified expenses may result in tax consequences. And the other great thing about the ABLE program is it's flexible. It can work with a special needs trust. It's not mutually exclusive. So if you have a special needs trust already, you can still use an ABLE account. If you have an ABLE account, you can still create a special needs trust. So it really makes it flexible. Like we said, when we first started doing these presentations, we're not talking about replacing special needs trusts with ABLE accounts. We're just adding another tool in the tool belt. We're giving individuals with disabilities another way to save for their future expenses and to make those contributions to those accounts. So some of the special features that we have with the ABLE program, we have the optional debit card. It makes it really easy for people to make qualified disability expense purchases at like the pharmacy or the grocery store or wherever they need to spend their money for their qualified disability expenses. It's accepted anywhere that MasterCard is accepted. It's issued by Fifth Third Bank. It's not accepted at places like casinos or bars, things like that. The other cool thing that we have available is called the UGift platform. Every single account that is opened with the ABLE program is given a code, and that code can be used by anyone to make a contribution to an ABLE account. So it really makes it easy for people to solicit donations from others and to help build their account balance. So it's a great way for people to make a tax-deductible contribution. One of the things that I talk to parents about is, especially parents of adult individuals with disabilities, is instead of giving your child an allowance, giving them $100 or whatever every now and then, make a deposit into their ABLE account and give yourself that income tax deduction. They'll save you money on your Michigan income taxes, and they still get the money for the things that they need. So it really works out. It's the best of both worlds kind of situation. So now that I've talked about the program and given you some insight into what it is, how it works, who's eligible, what you can use the money for, I want to give you guys a flavor of what the screens look like and how you can make those contributions. And so I can also answer Rebecca's question about direct deposited from a paycheck, because that's coming up soon. So when you go to our website, which is, again, myable.org, and you're ready to set up your account, we're going to ask you some general questions about who you are, what your relationship is to the beneficiary. Remember, the account owner is the person with the disability. So if you're opening this up on behalf of someone else, the account owner is the person with the disability. And we always start out asking that information first. Who is the account owner? Next thing we ask, what's your relationship to the person, to the account owner? Is it are you opening it up for yourself? Are you opening it up for a child who's got a disability? Are you the authorized individual? Those kinds of questions. And our enrollment process is dynamic, which means if you answer the question this way, it will offer different responses. So depending on how you answer. So it makes it really easy to walk through the enrollment steps, because we're not going to ask you questions that don't apply to your particular situation. And this is a financial account. Okay, you're opening this financial account through the state of Michigan. So we are going to need demographic information. We're going to need information like names, addresses, dates of birth, social security numbers, phone numbers, email addresses, so that we can get in contact with you if we have questions. Just like any other financial device, any other account, we're going to need that information to verify who we are dealing with. We have to go through the same identity theft checks and Patriot Act checks that any other financial transaction would have to go through. The IRS asks us to provide to them information on a regular basis. One of the questions that they ask us is, what type of disability do the account owners have? There is no difference between a Code 1 ABLE account and a Code 2 ABLE account. They just want this for reporting information to help determine what types of disabilities are utilizing ABLE accounts. Again, it doesn't change the ABLE account functions or anything like that. This is just for reporting to the IRS and the Social Security Administration. We need to know what makes you eligible for the ABLE account. You have SSA, SSI, SSDI, or do you have a written diagnosis by a physician? We also ask you to certify that you don't have an ABLE account open anywhere else. So those are some of the questions that we ask. If you have an authorized individual like a parent or a sibling or a spouse or grandparent or any one of those list of people, this is where you would add that information so that that individual has access to the account as well. I mentioned earlier that we have 6 different investment options that are available to you. You don't just have to choose one. You can separate your money any way that you want. If you want to put a little bit in each one of those investment options, if you want to put all your money in the aggressive option or all your money in the conservative option or some of your money in some of the accounts, you have the flexibility to do that. So it makes it really easy for you to monitor those investments, especially with the way the market has been in the last few months. There have been people who have been moving money around because the market has been not doing so well lately. Okay, so now I'm going to get to some of your questions because one of the questions was, can you deposit money directly from your paycheck? The answer to that is yes. There's a form on our website that you can turn into your payroll office where they can make a contribution on your behalf directly from your paycheck. We can also do bank transfers, and we can do one-time bank transfers with an account number and a routing number. We can do recurring bank transfers. You can say, I want to deposit $25 a month into this account. We can also accept checks. So it makes it really easy and really convenient for people to make contributions to the accounts. If you are going to make a deposit with a check, we even print out what's basically a deposit slip that has your MyAble account information on there, so that we can ensure it gets credited to the correct account. Okay, I mentioned earlier that our costs on an annual basis are between $45 and $60. Well, if you want to pay $60 a year, then sign up to have your statements mailed to you because there are costs associated with mailing them. And it's a little more expensive for us because we got to pay for the stamp and the printing and all that type of stuff. If you don't want to pay $60 a month and you'd rather, per year, and you want to pay $45 per year, you can sign up for electronic delivery of documents. Let's face it, it's 2022. Most people get their information from their computer or via email. Look at me. I'm literally on your computer right now talking to you about the ABLE program. So if you want to save yourself $15 a year, sign up for electronic delivery of documents and we'll discount your annual fee and have you only pay $45 a year. And you can do it differently depending on if you want your tax forms mailed to you or just your statements mailed to you, things like that. So it gives people an opportunity to choose whether they want to get the paper statement in the mail. Okay, I'm going to get to your questions because people keep adding them, which is fine. Can inherited income go into that account? The answer is yes. You can put an inheritance into this account. Just remember, you're limited to $16,000 per year. Are other people able to add money to the account? Yes. Anybody can make a contribution to anybody's account, so anybody can put money into your account. A balance over $100,000 will affect SSI but does not affect Medicaid, correct? That is absolutely correct. Deb, that's exactly the answer. Over $100,000 affects SSI payments, but not Medicaid. And then Chelsea, okay. Will this slide presentation be made available? Yes, it is being recorded and it will be available on the website, which I'm going to let probably Caitlin talk about at the end as well. Another question, if you shelter $500,000, how does that affect SSI and Medicaid? Remember, once you reach $100,000, your SSI payment will be impacted. Your Medicaid never will be impacted. So if you had a $500,000 ABLE account right now, you probably wouldn't be getting that SSI payment, but your Medicaid would not change at all. Can you change your investment choices once made? The answer is yes. Actually, I'm going to go back to that slide real quick just so you can see it. So right now, this particular sample has 50% in the aggressive and 50% in the checking. If at some point in the future, this person decides, you know what, that's too much money in the aggressive, I want to back some of that money out, you can do that twice per year. You can move deposited money twice per year. So you have the ability to make those investment changes depending on your typical your own personal investment decisions based on whatever determinations you make. So yes, you can make those changes. Is there a limit on how much money can be deposited or withdrawn at one time? The answer is yes, depending on your withdrawal type. So for instance, the debit card has a $500 daily limit. If you want to spend more than that, then you might want to contact customer service to either set up some type of direct deposit or something like that. Or we can even issue you checks, which don't have a limit either. You are limited to the amount of money that's in the account, however. Okay, you can also send me an email to request this. Okay, sorry, that's Caitlin. Okay, sorry. Okay, I think I've caught all the questions up, but I do see a hand up.
Hello.
And I can't. Hi.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Josie.
You mentioned that for financial management, that can be used to pay the attorneys. What
Yes.
about those legal fees? You know, what does the legal fees cover? Let's say estate planning.
Absolutely. Yes, if you need to pay an attorney to provide estate planning or to provide financial counseling, yes, you can pay for that person's services out of an ABLE account. Absolutely.
So the financial and management and legal expenses fees are similar. So
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking because it gave me a time to take a drink. I appreciate that.
Yeah, LaRonda has her hand up. Go ahead.
Hi, LaRonda. Don't forget to take yourself off mute.
Are you with us,
Oh,
LaRonda? There you
that
go.
was an accident. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
no problem.
Okay.
So while we're waiting to see if other folks have questions, Scott, I did have a question, and maybe you covered this and I missed it.
Sure.
But before an individual turns 18, can a parent or someone else set up an ABLE account for them to be able to be used once they become 18?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Probably it's more than half. More than half of my clients are children whose parents have opened accounts on their behalf, planning for, okay, he's eventually going to turn 18. He's going to need some money for himself set aside for whatever services he may need that are outside his benefits. So yeah, I have a lot of parents who have established accounts for children in anticipation of them needing something to save for their future expenses. So yes.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments? Let's see, somebody
Nope.
else just
I
put
had
their
a
hand
Miranda
up.
wants to try again.
All right, go ahead, LaRonda.
How much is it per month for the ABLE's account?
We don't have a monthly fee associated to that. There's an annual fee that's taken every 3 months. So if you were to go if you were to receive electronic delivery of documents, so it's $45 a year, we take $11.25 out of your account every 3 months.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's $45 for the
$45 a year, yes. And then somebody asked a
$45.
question, sorry,
Thank you.
it went by really quickly. Is there a minimum amount required to be in the account at all times? If your account balance goes to zero and stays at zero for 60 days, the account does close. So don't let that happen to your account. And the other thing is, I've counseled people because when these accounts were brand new, a lot of people would just put like $50 in and then just see what happens. Well, I can tell you what's going to happen. It's going to be eaten up by the fees in about a year. So if you're going to, if that's your plan, please don't utilize this account. Put it in a savings account and just let it do something else, because I don't want this to be eaten up by fees. If you're going to invest and you know you're going to have expenses in the future that you need to save for, this is a place for that. But don't use this
Hello.
like a bank account. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
go right ahead.
It's Josie again. The limit is 100,000. I just need clarification. The
Okay.
limit is 100,000, and therefore it does not affect the SSI and Medicaid. Now, let's say the money you can shelter 500,000. Okay, then it affects SSI, but does it affect also the Medicaid area?
It will never affect Medicaid eligibility. Doesn't matter if you have $1 in there or $500,000 in the account. Your Medicaid eligibility is never impacted by the ABLE account.
Okay, so this is my confusion. Okay, the limit is 100,000, but with my family members and myself and my ex-husband, Josie's dad, we can easily reach it to 500,000. That's the one that is confusing for me.
Okay, let me try it again. Okay, let me try and explain it one more time. So annually, which means every year, you can contribute $16,000. So this
I'm
year,
aware
next
of that.
year's, okay, you got that. When the balance reaches $100,000, SSI payments will be impacted. The Social Security Administration will now count anything on top of that $100,000 as a resource, which might impact your eligibility for payments. The state of Michigan will allow you to continue making contributions to that account until it reaches $500,000. Once it reaches $500,000, we cannot accept any more contributions. So it's $16,000 per year, $100,000 before SSI is impacted, and $500,000 before we say we can't accept any more money from you. Those are the limits.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Josie.
Okay.
Other comments or questions?
Okay. Deb
right.
asked a question. You said that the state of Michigan has never used a clawback procedure to see the account balance that is related to a certain balance. They've never made a claim to anything that's what's left in an ABLE account. So it's never happened. If a beneficiary has passed, not if, when a beneficiary has passed away, the account becomes just like any other financial transaction. It's just like a regular bank account at that point. It goes through their normal heirship process. Did the person have a will? Did they establish a trust? Did it go through probate? Do they have next of kin? And if all of those questions, then it goes through just like any other bank account or any other asset. So unfortunately, we have had beneficiaries who have passed away, and Medicaid has not made a claim to what has been left in the account.
Hey, Matt, or Scott, I'm sorry. Amy
okay.
asked a question earlier about having a conservatorship.
Mhm.
If someone has a guardian and the guardian has control over their financial situation, then in that case, also a guardian would have to okay an ABLE
Correct.
account?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. I think I got all the questions that were posed in the chat. So I'm going to go back and just make sure that we got, okay, I talked about electronic delivery of documents. You can save yourself $15 a year by signing up for electronic delivery of documents. We ask you to create a username and password so that you can get back into your account. We will also ask you security questions. Most of you are probably familiar with those questions. Who was your favorite high school teacher? Those kinds of questions. What was your first car? Just so that you can make sure that you're on the correct account if you lose your password. We also ask you to create a site key so that you know that you're on the correct website when you go to log in. We give you an opportunity to review all the information that you've submitted. I have big hands, so I tend to fat finger things like social security numbers and addresses. Here's your chance to look through and make sure that you've got everything correct. And then we'll give you a screen that you can print that says, here's your account number. You've created an ABLE account, and it allows you a chance to upload documents. We've had situations where people have input an incorrect data point, like a date of birth or something like that, and we need you to provide documentation showing the correct date of birth. And we have a really easy function that allows that. You can just upload a screenshot or an electronic document that shows that. So that's it. I'm done. There's another question. I know we're getting close to time, but is there a minimum amount required to be in the account at all time? There is no minimum amount that needs to be in the account at all times. But again, if you go to 60 days at a zero balance, the account does automatically close. So you want to make sure that you've got money in the account at least every 60 days. And the easiest way to do that is to make recurring contributions and just say, send 25 bucks a month into this account and just let it build. That's what most people are doing. So I know I gave you my.
Hey, Scott.
Yes, go ahead.
Just real quick. So let's say something happens and somebody has an account and it gets closed, right? But a year or so later, they decide, hey, I want to try this again. So they could open another account?
Absolutely. Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's nothing that stops, because at that point, for all intents and purposes, they do not have an ABLE account just because you had one that opened and closed. So yes, you can. It would probably be a new account number. It would probably, but those kinds of things. But yes, you could reestablish an account. Before I go, I want to make sure that you all know that client service is available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 844-656-7225. They are there to help assist people with the system, to help with enrollment, to help people understand how to make contributions, withdrawals, how to set up recurring payments and withdrawals, those kinds of things. I am always looking for outreach events to talk to disability advocacy groups, to talk to parent groups, other organizations, financial professionals, just to explain the program to them, because it is still so new and there are still so many people that don't know about the program. We are gradually building awareness, but we figure there are about 350,000 people in Michigan who are eligible for this program, and we've opened 4,000. So we're barely over 1% of our potential population. So the more people that we can get aware of this program, the more people that can avail themselves of this program, and the more money that they can shelter from being eligible for Medicaid. Email address is there, phone number is there, website is there. If I can answer any questions, and I know some of you, especially on a Zoom or on a Teams call, that you might not want to share your own private information. If you have individual questions about your situation, I'd be more than happy to answer them if I can. And you want to email me directly. And I think both Caitlin and Vicky will attest. That is my email. I will email you back from that email address. So I do see a hand up.
Yeah, Chelsea. Chelsea has her hand up.
Go ahead, Chelsea.
Hi there. Could I get that phone number one more time, please?
Yep, sure. 844-656-7225.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Great.
Hi, I have another question. This is
Go ahead.
Chelsea. It was much more easier before. I was just dealing with our Florida consultants. I was dealing with two consultants there, Barry and Gary. That's kind of hard for me and confusing at times, Then what is the advantage that we join the National Able Alliance? Because
Sure.
if I have some consultation and needs assistance, I'll be directed to someone from Rhode Island to other states. Now,
Okay.
I hope you're not uncomfortable with my question.
No, absolutely
All of
not.
those people-
You're asking a legitimate question, and I'm going to give you the honest answer. So when our program was first created in 2016, we put out what's called an RFP, a request for proposal, where we basically tell people, hey, the state of Michigan is interested in opening this new type of financial device for individuals with disabilities, but we do not have the ability or the capacity to do the record keeping and the website and monitor the investments and all that stuff. So when we did that, we had one company that came forward and said, you know what, we'll open that. We'll do that for you. And through the course of normal, and we signed a 5-year contract. So that was in 2016. In 2021, that company told us, listen, we're getting out of the ABLE business. They were purchased by another company who said, we don't want to do this anymore. We're not interested in continuing to be an ABLE provider. Michigan was their only client for ABLE business. So I'll be honest with you, we didn't make them a lot of money. They didn't earn a lot of money doing our business. So they said, we're out of the business. So it was at that point that we had to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? The National ABLE Alliance offered us a low-cost, easy, relatively easy way to join their alliance and to become the 19th member of the National ABLE Alliance. Instead of trying to explain to a brand new company what ABLE is and what we needed them to do, it was easier for us to join the National ABLE Alliance and become a partner with other states. Because now I can utilize a single website that Illinois and Pennsylvania and Indiana and all those other states use, and we can share resources. So that's the main reason why we joined the National ABLE Alliance, was to help build a coalition of states who are all trying to do the same thing. The people in Indiana are trying to do the same thing that I'm trying to do, build a program for people with disabilities. And it's a chance for us to share some of those resources. So Is it exactly the same as what it was before? No, it's not. And some of that is due to the fact that we use Fifth Third as our debit card processor as opposed to another company. And yes, you're absolutely right. Our customer service functions aren't here in the state of Michigan. They weren't before either, but you're right. You could end up in Rhode Island or in Kansas or somewhere. You're absolutely correct. And if we had the resources here in Michigan, I would love it if we had the resources here in Michigan to have our own homegrown program. We just don't. So that's why we went with the National Able Alliance.
Great question, Josie. Thanks. Dean Shea. Dean Shea has their hand up.
Yeah. Hi. So I know that you said that this isn't available to anybody under the age of 18, but what about those parents who they are on SSI along with their children on SSI? Are their children's SSI payments allowed to be put into this account or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna answer the question as kind of a smart aleck. I don't care where the money comes from. If you want to put SSI money in here, if you want to put inheritance money in here, if you want to put birthday money in here, that's fine. It doesn't matter where the money comes from. So yes, an SSI money, and one of the questions I get is, can I put all of my SSI money? Sorry, I'm getting an echo. You can put all of your SSI money into an ABLE account. It's just got to make that jump from SSI to a financial account to the ABLE program. But yeah, you could put it all in there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Good question.
All right. Anything else, Scott?
Okay. I'm done. Like I said, if you have questions about the program, you can email me. You can call customer service. They'd be happy to assist you. I again want to thank you for your time and your attendance and giving me the opportunity to talk for about an hour about ABLE accounts. And again, I'm always looking for other ways that I can help get the word out. So if you know of any other events, please don't hesitate to email me. I am in West Bloomfield tomorrow. I am at Michigan State on May 2nd. I'm in Roscommon, Michigan on May 4th. So I'm back to traveling again, which is great. And awesome. Plus it's spring. I don't have to worry about the snow anymore. So
maybe.
But please feel free to email me because I'm always looking for ways to get the word out to people. So thank you again for your time. I'm going to stop talking now.
Thank you, Scott. We appreciate it. You're a wealth of information. We so much appreciate it. And thanks everybody for your awesome questions. Those were great. All right, so we're just going to wrap up. So we ask that you complete the survey. Certainly if you complete the survey and you include your email address, we will email you the PowerPoint, okay? We'll be sure that anybody that does the survey includes an email. We'll send you the PowerPoint because it has lots of great information that you could use as a reference. So please, Caitlin's put the link in our chat, so please complete the survey. Next slide. So what's coming next in our training series? We are running this series through October. In May, we're going to have special needs trusts. As Scott mentioned a little bit about special needs trust as well as ABLE accounts, you can do both. It doesn't have to be exclusive of each. And then we've got supported decision-making regarding medical situations, going to be discussed in July. Assistive technology in August. We're going to talk about supporting people who want to get out of guardianship that may have a guardian. And then in October, we the state supported decision-making work group is working on a toolkit with a variety of resources, including those in our presentations for individuals. So we hope to have that toolkit done this summer and be able to present that to you in October. All right, next slide. And where can you find these trainings? Again, we have those on our website, which you can find at oaklandchn.org. Click on resources, recorded training, and then scroll down to supported decision-making webinar series. All of the series from 2021 should be there, as well as the ones that we have done in 2022 so far. Last year's trainings were 1 hour and a half. This year's trainings are 1 hour. So somebody could go through those trainings pretty quickly if they'd like. So please pass that along to folks. Next slide. And last of all, thank you for joining us. It was a great conversation, a great presentation. I think we all learned many things. So thank you so much. We hope to see you at some of our future sessions. Have a great afternoon.